Hey everyone, we'll give everyone else, because there's quite a few that registered and then confirmed. So we'll maybe give them up to a minute more, and then we will start, of course. But we will aim to keep it to the 30 minutes as well. So all right, perfect. Well, let's get started. Everybody else that is going to be joining can do so. A couple of almost just small housekeeping. There is a chat box in within Zoom. So if you have any questions or queries as we're going through it, please do just ask away. We'll either look to try and weave them in at the time, or we'll try and have time for a Q&A at the end. And if not, then of course we'll follow up directly and make sure that everything gets addressed. We do want to keep this to 30 minutes. And in doing so, let's kick it off, okay? Because we're pretty excited by just the feedback and the way in which our partners are using this. So the main feature, if you will, or new module or new capability that was rolled out is what we're classing as MSP groupings or CloudOlive groupings. And what we also want to do today is give you an idea of what we've got in the wins in the not too distant future, some imminent, okay, which I think is going to be really, really well received around direct feeds coming in from Microsoft and doing some really smart things with it, as well as a portal which is just helping our partners get more out of the product, okay? As I mentioned, as a Q&A. So as a very short recap, which leads into why we've designed this new release the way we have in terms of the groupings, is over the last 4 years, as we've been building and solving this problem, we've very much been taking data coming from a supplier and then looking to bind that back to an Autotask or a ConnectWise typically. And there's just these levels of difficulty that we've understood as we've gone along. And it started with a one-to-one mapping, very, very straightforward. Obviously, that was built in version .1 of ours. And then what it started to unravel is that actually there's quite a few scenarios where there's one line from the vendor actually, but there's multiple places within your PSA. Could be split across different accounts, a single tenant into separate accounts, or even different services. Or like we got plenty of clients where it's both, where we need one line to be branched off to multiple accounts and multiple services. So all of this capability was really getting driven from vendor data always being classed as the source of truth, and then us ensuring that every line from the supplier was then branched out. And also same but different, but there's many times where you might have multiple tenants in one invoice, let's call it, that needs to go to the same account. So one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, all of these types of groupings is really being driven from the vendor data set itself. And incredibly important, like this solution that's been there for a long time now ensures that you do not underbill, or you make sure you're capturing every dollar that you're getting charged for. Super key and a really important problem to solve. Okay. So yeah, this is looking at the problem as I just had someone ask if they can or cannot hear us. Can someone just give us a thumbs up if everyone else can hear us? Cool. Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Nicole. So yeah, for the longest time now, we've been really taking vendor data, distributor information, and then taking that and then binding it back to the relevant systems.
Oh no, it's gone. There's one of them that you need to take.
I might just ask everyone to mute themselves if they could, if they're not going to be chatting. But so what about from your customer's perspective? Okay, like we built CloudOlive to very much our partners, our customers, the ones we solve problems for are you on this call. It's the MSPs, and very much we want to make sure that you don't underbill. Like very broad statement many years ago, it was like, is that possible to actually solve that across all suppliers? And for over the last 4 years, we've really delved exceptionally deep into solving that problem. And what I guess as we spoke to more and more customers, and we were getting conversations or hearing conversations that your clients were coming back and saying, why are you billing me for this thing? And as we, I guess, kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper, taking vendor data and ensuring you're not misbilling is really, really important, okay? It certainly solves one problem. What it doesn't solve, however, is actually reducing the client questions coming back and querying the invoices. And a really, really common example of that is if you've got 10 premium forward and the client knows how many humans they have, so they know that it's 10, but they've got 11 of this other service, which might only cost $3 or $4. It's often that unit count discrepancy that is enacting a lot of questions coming back. So when we were looking at that tells us, rather than using vendor data like universally as the source of truth, it's like it's a very important step. But then what about the actual information that's actually living within your PSA? So we've really, really focused hard on, if you've got 500 line items that your customer will see on their invoice, or 100 line items, or whatever the number is, every single one of them should be validated before your customer sees that number, okay? And because if obviously everyone would have seen it, if it just gradually erodes trust and you just need to do more work, right? So where we've spent time in this latest release is trying to look at relationships and dependencies that reside in your AutoTask or ConnectWise. So at a service level or at a product level in ConnectWise, just their terminology. And some of the scenarios that we've seen is we could have a full managed user. So someone that has a mailbox, someone that's a human at a site. In theory, if there's a human there, they should have the same number of this service and that service and that service. Partly from a security standpoint in terms of a quality control, but if they're paying for, say, 10 business premium, they're happy and expecting to see 10s across the board with everything else. Of course, there's exceptions. Of course, we'll go through the like how to manage sort of the one-offs and all the rest of it. But as a general rule of thumb across an entire data set, begin thinking about the products that you're buying or services you're buying in terms of how you're getting sold them. So user, we've got a concept here of light user, or per device, or per site, or something like in this scenario. Then we go, okay, which of the full managed user, we've got 4 different products in there, business premium just being one of them. It's like, okay, well, what would we rely on as being the source of truth count for this? And trying to be really disciplined around it. Like typically it's going to be a business premium, of course. So then we go down the track. If there's a business basic, then we should have a matching this and a matching that. And likewise, if there's an RMM, typically an RMM, we've got a label here. It could be Data RMM or any of the others. But it's taking trying to align a source of truth count. So we can do 2 things with it. Okay, so when we look at why use groupings or why consider it, and I think every single MSP should have this switched on. I think every single MSP from a bird's eye view perspective will learn a lot as to what their customers are seeing at scale. And the big one is like quality check what your customers are going to see. As I said, if you've got 100 or 500 lines that your customers see, we just want to align, we just want to make a decision as to how we're going to verify the unit counts for them. And naturally, if we can speed things up and all the automation, all the rest of it, we can get bills out the door, ideally a little bit earlier in the month, with greater confidence that fewer questions will come back. So we've designed what we're this Venn diagram here of, these are 2 fairly distinct modules. Okay, CloudOlive reconciliation. Everybody on this call, that's like typically all we've had up until this time, right? Until this last release. So this is taking vendor data and ensuring it's accurate against the PSA. Great. Okay, solves a problem. Now what we want to look at it is from the lens of the actual client is, okay, from grouping these products and services together, like what's off? Okay, so there's going to be 2 sides to this. And this is why I think every single MSP on the planet should have this lens into their PSA construct. Is if you're billing very early on in the month, the first of the month, let's call it, that the CloudOlive groupings can actually then begin acting as your billing driver. So we take the business premium count, we align everything else out, we get the bills out the door, okay? What then happens with the main module we've had for a really, really long time is we still firmly recommend loading in the files and the invoices that come maybe on a more relaxed basis through the month, and ensure that actually that nothing was too far out. Okay, so on this side, early in the month, CloudOlive grouping can be looked at as a billing driver. It could actually mean that you'd reduce down the number of files, et cetera, that need to be loaded in order to get the bills out the door. However, we still recommend it like every month, but certainly periodically, to make sure that the licenses have been getting switched off, et cetera, like the quality control side of it. Or on the flip side, if we wait until the invoices actually come from the suppliers themselves, then it's exactly what everybody's traditionally doing now. Okay, so we take the vendor data, we take the invoice, we take the reports, we bring them into CloudOlive, and we do the reconciliation. We don't underbill anything, and out the door it goes. Then what CloudOlive groupings can do and sit on top is really act as a quality control as to, it's just in reverse to what we just spoke about. So either way, the different modules can be used in different ways, achieving the same result, regardless of how you bill your clients in your MSP, okay? And both need to be switched on, both absolutely have and will continue to have their real merit here. So I actually just want to show you briefly now what we're talking about when we talk about the groupings here. And I will actually show a quick demonstration. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to build, so the MRR Insights, new naming convention we've just given to CRM Insights. There's going to be a lot of additional capability that's rolled into this module. And for a lot of our partners, they use it occasionally, or some that's been with us for a while didn't even know it was there because they're all focused on the reconciliation. Just as a reminder, this is a view of every single recurring billing item that goes through your business, and just gives really handy filter and search capabilities in order to read what's going on in your PSA. So it's far quicker in our eyes than actually diving into a specific contract or an agreement and getting certain data, okay? It is a read from your PSA. So one of the things I just want to quickly look at here is I'm just going to search for one of my customers here. And we've got 3 services, okay? So we've got Business Premium, Datto SaaS Protection, and CrowdStrike. Now, what you can see here is we've already designed a grouping here. Okay, so configuration, CloudOlive groupings, and we've built something here called user-based. Very simple. And we've said this is a user-based service that we buy, and this is a user-based service that we buy and sell. And then because we've turned that on, if you notice this, the driver, the primary count here is Business Premium. Okay. So what it's going to tell us now is if that's 10, we've told CloudOlive, hey, this is the primary here. This is essentially a secondary in this. So it's saying, hey, you've actually got a discrepancy here of something. And this little toggle, like you would see in other areas of the system, you can then just index that down and very quickly go, oh, we're underbilling by $40 on that specific line item. Again, if you build early in the month, okay, it should all be aligned. It should all be aligned based on this type of concept, and you just get bills out the door. If you then bring in reports and stuff during the month and try to do a true up and understand if they're from a quality controls perspective, or vice versa, you reconcile through the vendor data, and you just whatever's active in the portal, it just goes to the customer. This just acts as an eye, like a bird's eye view across everything to go, oh, will the customer be happy with that, or are we happy with that? And what I would recommend is if you wanted to give this a go, you do need admin access to CloudOlive. Everyone's got access to this capability. I should note there's no additional charge or anything to it. The configuration tab will require admin access. And what I'll do now is I'll actually add CrowdStrike to my grouping. So I've just copied that. I can come in here. I can add a service there. So I've just added these 2 here now. So if you see this, we've got 1 primary at the top and then these 2 secondaries. And because we've got the 2 secondaries, when we come back into CloudOlive now, and we'll just do we do need to do a sync with like a revamped sync here. But even while we wait for that, okay, something that is new and is super useful is we can then grab all of the user-based information across all of our customers. And again, it will dynamically grab the margins and it'll grab everything else associated with it, which is also super helpful for those that have bundles that are somewhat split out inside of their PSA. This just allows us a very, very quick and simple way that we can just get that information. So I think that sync's now done. Not quite yet. And then what we'll begin to see is if there's a delta between these and the primary, then the suggested quantity will come to life even more. Sure, I set that up. Yeah, cool. Yeah, perfect. So again, if I come back to my article 1, here, now we have more information. And again, in terms of the lines with discrepancies, which again, everyone will be familiar with the other modules, it is, we can click that. What it's now telling us is, hey, if you follow the prompts that CloudOlive is suggesting to reduce this count by 2 and increase that one by 4, you're going to make an extra $30 net over the base of balancing these out. So in terms of some of the things you can consider thinking about for yourselves and how we've seen it get used really, really effectively, typically user-based billing stuff accounts for around 70% of all revenue. Okay, so, and that's just the relevant services. So if you have a list of your user-based things that are in your PSA, just begin listing them out and then working and adding a toggle here and marking something as a primary, and then everything else will be branched off of that. It is worth noting that if you have, oh, Adam, what about if E1 plus E3 plus business premium equals our primary drivers, because there could be more of them, then you can just mark multiples as a primary and our system will do the smarts in the background. Yes to that question in terms of, so in terms of taking action from here, this module, as I mentioned earlier on, will be gradually fleshed out with a huge amount more capability. And actually our very next update that's going to be coming in the next month or so, a lot will be linked through to this. So I'd really recommend getting more and more familiar with this. Autotask users can update directly from here. ConnectWise as of now cannot. Okay, so it will just need to be a process that you're running internally. We will then update that accordingly, and very soon you'll be able to just action everything from here, even to the point where if you have multiple discrepancies on one line item, a single pop-up to then actually take care of everything if you choose to balance it out with what we're suggesting. But to answer your question, yes, from the MRR insights is where we would recommend utilizing that information from. Okay. And rest assured, there's some real smarts that have been added into what if there's multiple line items in a contract or an agreement, and we need those summed together. Like there's been real deep thought that's gone into this in terms of taking all of those edge cases, such as if we've got big design here that has, for some reason, 2 lots of data, SAS 20 and 18, like the system's smart enough to recognize that number is actually 38. Like there's no extra capability. There's nothing else that's gone into you needing to think about that. We've catered to all those. We believe majority of the edge cases that we've been learning along the way in this very first version, it's extremely robust. Okay. So use it and would love to hear your feedback. This thing will get greatly enhanced over the next little while. So again, just to reiterate, the whole idea here is that if we've got primaries, and we might have, again, business premium as our primary, if everything's perfect here, then over here, the suggested quantity and just a prompt to say what's going on to, is it over or under? And for the actually really good question. So what if we've got something that's automatically integrating in with Autotask or ConnectWise? That's awesome. Like this really complements that capability. You need to trust the source of truth that's coming in, be that through us, be that manual, be that through a distributor of choice, be that however you're getting the data into your Autotask or ConnectWise. This grouping can be leveraged absolutely across all the other elements that you want to see either lined up and or just as a bird's eye view quality control. But yeah, nice question, Mike. So There's a help file and video, etc., that if you want to jump on this, we will send this out after the webinar as well. So anyone who's registered will get access to this. So don't worry so much if you miss this now. And yeah, would recommend jumping into that. So let's jump into some of the roadmap. Just a quick question. Nick, I'll maybe take that afterwards. I just very briefly, if you trust an integration, like that's great. Like if it removes the need to upload or do anything, if you trust the data that's coming across, we can always be used as a backstop and just an eyeball on everything. And likewise, if there's anything that a typical disti integration won't solve, there's high probability we'll have the capability to split and group and do all the edge case stuff. But we generally say, like, leave them on if you do believe that they're solving the problem for you, for sure. And then we can just act from an invoice in particular with pack state. That's the one that's been mentioned. We know that thing intimately back to front, inside out. So we can just load that in and make sure that everything behaves as per the integration you were hoping to. So future state roadmap. I'm mindful we got 10 minutes to go, so I want to make sure that we cover everything here. So a couple of things. We looked at how many tickets have been like dev tasks that have taken the CloudOlive from nothing to where it is now, and it's a little over 1,100. I'm curious to see when the product is absolutely perfect for the whole world, what that number will actually look like. But what has happened is that the way that this has been solved with, for the first couple of years, very unscalable processes that people have been with us for a long time will understand, that it's given us such a great lens on like the fine threads of this problem, and then naturally just implementing cool tech around it to solve everything. So the groupings piece was a foundational solve. And the reason being is that now we can be smart in terms of the source of truth counts that we begin automating in. Okay, so the very first one that we're going to be rolling out is Microsoft. And for those who may have seen, sort of 6 months ago, we were building an NC Easy, a way to manage the renewals and everything. It actually, what happened there was, and we've sent the note out, but what happened there was the API that was coming from Microsoft for anything that became NCE, CSP was fine from a data perspective. NCE, the dates then started to get a little bit funny. We didn't trust that information, okay? So now that the groupings is now done, my co-founder, Enrico, he's been working on basically what had already been built, all the shell of it, and the data's just there now. So the API that we were using with Microsoft once upon a time is now behaving the way that we need it to. So something that's going to be coming in this sort of the next update for us is, this is one part of it, solving the renewals that come around on NCE. Understanding if you've got unassigned licenses before a renewal is due. Like everyone on this call, you or the team have been going through this process, and we'll have to do it again. We just want to give you a central view to manage absolutely everything. This will be getting pulled directly in from Partner Center. And if I don't remember to do it later, if you would like to be, now we're actually generally looking for beta users to work with us to pull through the data and then shape this next release that's coming. The data that we've tested across multiple customers now is perfect. Okay, and the other thing that we've realized is that with GDAP access coming from Microsoft, the invoice doesn't always correlate with what is available via the API. Seem to be about 5 to 8% depending on the MSP that we're working with. So there's a real merit always in taking, especially Microsoft or big distributed bills, and making sure that they're loaded in via CloudOlive and make sure that everything's going through. But anything we can access via the API, we'll be able to then pull in. So a couple of other things we'll want to do now. So going back to the groupings capability, okay, with Microsoft, we have available count, especially if it's NCE and someone's bought 3 units for a year, like you're getting charged for a year. What if they only have 2 users assigned to that? Okay, it's a different number that is important to be able to leverage to do different things with. So we very much see the number 3 will likely go to, say, the normal reconciliation module, because you want to build that top line number. The number 2, however, or in this case, number 1, because we don't bill for admin, that's not a true user or internal or something. The 1, Parlor, in this case, will need to be aligned to a single service or product. Or if you think about that, that's a user count, right? So if we can assign that as the primary driver to a grouping, again, anything secondary within a user-based grouping can just be simply bridged off of that, either to fix or to just as a quality control argument. So we're hopeful that at some point in April, we'll be deploying this into our client databases. Rest assured, there's no additional cost to current customers for anything that we're looking at here. We will reassess this, just I suppose because this needs to be timed. So we will reassess this in July for net new partners, because we believe that there's material value getting generated from this. Anybody who is with us now or on this call, et cetera, that's current partners, like there's no additional cut charge. Everything we're seeing today will just be rolled into the current package that you're on. Okay. But yeah, we're super pumped by this. It's also taking the data set now, the logic and the groupings and everything is there. It's really just driving automation through what's the most likely primaries that our partners are doing. Highly likely Microsoft takes care of all user-based, highly likely some form of device-based. So we're just thinking logically now about what we do in what order. But as you get more and more into the groupings, it would just tell us. And all our emails are going to be on this final slide. So a couple of other things that will be coming, okay? Can't give you specific dates because we're firmly working and focused on the Microsoft, but being able to export out stuff. I know that this is high up on everyone's agenda. And this is coming from the reconciliation. Hey, I want to see all the discrepancies to send to another teammate so they can look at this stuff. Okay, we get it. We get that there's friction there. The MRR insights, as well as the Microsoft piece as well. Imagine being able to download and push that out to a teammate of yours who is specifically focused on, hey, why are these got unassigned licenses? Can you go and have a look at them? Rest assured, the quality of the output that comes, like we really understand what needs to be developed and built. It's just a prioritization argument. We don't think that this materially moves the needle. And trust me, we go back and forth all the time on this because there are a lot of clients of ours asking for this. It will be done soon though. The other cool bit, now that we've seen white space and being able to link to stuff that's actually in the database inside your audit task or PSA, it becomes very easy for us to invert that data and go, okay, well, if we've got user-based stuff, they should always have this, that, and the other. So within MRR Insights, we're gradually going to move across and have multiple tabs within that system. And what I actually mean by that is here, you'll gradually see more and more tabs that's inverting the different data in different sense. But white space makes a lot of sense. It's also when I was working at Autotask and then Datto for those many, many years, it's a problem I've felt firsthand and really get how we have the information and we can at least give you something here. And likewise here, so again, what do we do with one-time fees? So what we're meaning by this is we build all the logic now to go, like take vendor data and make magic happen and compress it in a way that eventually will bind to our PSA. Where we're talking about this is things like telco bills that could be consumption, Azure bills that could be consumption, things that are typically, you may want to just put in one time. Now you can obviously add them as services, and there are pros and cons to both approaches. I'll absolutely say that, but we totally get, especially around telco stuff, to be able to just take a wild CDR file and just pump it in and breaking it apart in the relevant ways that you would want your customers to see. We've got all that capability. For us, is just pointing at a slightly different part of the system and doing some secondary checks to it. But it is certainly something we want to solve. And also being able to just very simply hyperlink from the remaining steps per vendor that you've got, be able to index down what the team needs to do. So in terms of the timing and the order of this, just know that this is what, as a team, as a management team, where we've got high on our agenda to roll out as soon as we possibly can. The first will without a doubt be Microsoft though. That's in the works now. So in terms of the self-service hub, we will continue to flesh this out. So this has a load of training videos and sort of how-tos that we're building. And certainly anyone who's new to this should get access to this in the new project plans that go out. But I'd recommend having this. And if you've got new staff coming on, it's a good place to at least get them gradually up to speed with the work that we're doing, make everyone feel more comfortable. So the other thing, I just want to say a massive thanks. So a big portion of our partner base who have referred others to us, like it's a material growth vector for us. So it's good because it tells we're doing something right, but we also want to repay that favor. So if you've got other MSPs that run Autotask or ConnectWise, or soon just resell Microsoft, okay, if they just resell Microsoft, so it widens the addressable market massively here in the next month or so. We are very happy to, one of two things, whatever they sign up for, we can discount off your next bill, or if you've got a charity that you're aligned with, more than happy to donate those proceeds to them as well, and hopefully everyone wins. So we've had a bit of a Q&A as we go through. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, just a quick question on Microsoft there around just being able to see what's yearly, what's monthly. That's a really big problem, especially if you've got two SKUs or two billing frequencies, yearly, monthly, but it's the same SKU within Microsoft. But yeah, it looks like that we will be able to solve that with the information we've got. But again, to be fleshed out. Just moving into this, mindful of time. If you want to reach us, like my email is just adam@cloudolive.com. And if you have any feedback, have any thoughts around what we've spoken about today, you want to be part of the beta as well within Microsoft. If you're keen to help us out with that, just drop me a note, let me know. For those, if you're in the US or in Europe, Megan is locally based there as our account executive out there. But either or of us, or of course, you can hit us up at support@cloudolive.com. But want to be respectful of everyone's time. Just message me if you have any questions after it. But yeah, thanks again for like pushing us to build a better product. And there's some really cool stuff to come in the not too distant future. But yeah, have a nice day, everyone.